The door to the penthouse swung open with a whisper-soft click that Mason Whitaker hadn't meant to hear. But in the dead silence of his empty life, every sound was a gunshot. Rain lashed the floor-to-ceiling windows of his Manhattan high-rise like accusations from the storm outside, mirroring the chaos he'd fled from in Tokyo. Another boardroom battle won, but at what cost? He dropped his soaked duffel by the entryway console, the weight of jet lag and unspoken grief pulling at him, when a faint splash echoed from down the hall, pulling him toward the master bath like a siren's call he couldn't ignore. Steam curled out from under the door like cigarette smoke from a bad memory, and Mason's hand trembled on the knob. Why was the light on? Why was anything on in this ghost of a home? He pushed it open, and time fractured. There, in the clawfoot tub that had once held him and his late husband tangled in lazy Sunday mornings, was Levi Harlow, water sluicing over his bare shoulders, head thrown back in exhausted relief, oblivious to the intruder who'd just shattered the fragile piece of his stolen moment. Levi! Mason's voice cracked like thunder, raw and disbelieving, as the younger man's eyes snapped open, blue as the Hudson on a clear day, now wide with the terror of a deer in headlights. Levi scrambled, splashing water over the marble rim, his body lean, inked with the kind of tattoos that told stories Mason suddenly ached to read, exposed in a way that hit like a betrayal deeper than death itself. "What the fuck are you doing in my house? In our tub?" Levi's gasp echoed off the tiled walls, a sound so visceral it clawed at Mason's chest, reopening wounds he'd sworn were scarred over. Water droplets clung to Levi's lashes like unshed tears as he clutched the edge of the tub, his knuckles whitening against the porcelain. The air hung heavy with the scent of eucalyptus bath salts, Ethan's favorite, the ones Mason hadn't touched since the funeral 6 months ago. Levi's mouth opened, closed, then opened again, but no words came, just a choked exhale that spoke volumes of guilt and longing. Mason couldn't move. His Italian leather loafers rooted to the threshold, suit jacket heavy with rain, as if the storm had followed him inside to drown them both. Ethan had been gone 182 days. Cancer, that merciless bastard, had stolen him in a blur of hospital fluorescence and false hopes. And Levi had been Ethan's shadow, his best friend since their frat days at NYU, the one who'd held Ethan's hand through chemo sessions while Mason buried himself in work, building an empire to outrun the fear. Levi, with his easy laugh and those damn dimples that lit up rooms like fireworks over the East River. Levi, who should have been a comfort, not this, a naked intruder in the sanctum of their shared life. I didn't think you'd be back," Levi finally stammered, his voice a husky whisper that sent an unwelcome shiver down Mason's spine. He didn't cover himself, not fully. One arm draped loosely across his lap, but his chest rose and fell in panicked rhythm. Scars from a motorcycle accident years back, Ethan's wild stories of dragging Levi from wreckage, glistening under the recessed lights. "Your assistant said Tokyo for another week. I just needed to remember. The word landed like a punch, because Mason remembered too every night, in the king-sized bed that swallowed him whole, Ethan's laughter haunting the sheets. But this, seeing Levi here, vulnerable and uninvited, it twisted something primal in Mason's gut. Not anger, not exactly. Hunger, no, that was insane. Betrayal, maybe, sharp as the stubble shadowing Levi's jaw. "Get out," Mason said, but his voice lacked conviction, cracking on the last syllable. He turned away, but not before the image seared into his retinas. Levi rising from the water like some forbidden Aphrodite, droplets tracing paths Mason's fingers itched to follow. The door clicked shut behind him as he stumbled to the living room, collapsing onto the leather sectional that overlooked Central Park's skeletal November trees. His hands shook as he poured a tumbler of Macallan from the sideboard. Neat. Always neat. Like Ethan used to tease him about being too buttoned up for your own good. Minutes stretched into an eternity before Levi emerged. Towel slung low on his hips. Hair tousled and damp, carrying the ghost of Ethan's scent. He paused in the doorway, arms crossed over his chest as if shielding the tattoos that peeked from beneath. A compass rose on his ribs. North is where the heart is scripted in Ethan's handwriting. Mason's throat tightened. Ethan had inked that during a Vegas weekend, high on bad decisions and better love. "I'm sorry," Levi said, voice steadier now, though his eyes, those piercing blues, darted like he was mapping escape routes. "The key. You left it with me after the funeral. For emergencies. This was stupid. The anniversary's coming up, and I couldn't breathe in my own place. It smells like him here. Feels like him." Mason swirled the scotch, the amber liquid catching the city lights like fireflies in a jar. Anniversary. February 14th, when he'd proposed on the Brooklyn Bridge. Snow flurrying like confetti from indifferent gods. Ethan had said yes with a kiss that tasted like hot chocolate and forever. Now, forever was a tub of cold water and a man who wasn't his husband but wore his pain like a second skin. "Sit," Mason commanded, surprising himself. Levi hesitated, then dropped into the armchair opposite, the towel riding up just enough to reveal a thigh scarred from that same crash. Up close, Levi looked wrecked, dark circles under his eyes, a bruise blooming on his cheekbone like he'd taken a fist to the face recently. Mason's jaw clenched. "Who did that?" Levi touched the mark absently, wincing. "Doesn't matter. Bar fight. Some asshole mouthing off about fairy tales ending in coffins." He laughed, bitter and broken, the sound scraping Mason's nerves. Ethan would have decked him harder. Silence fell, thick as the fog rolling off the reservoir below. Mason studied Levi the way his Adam's apple bobbed when he swallowed, the faint freckles across his nose that Ethan used to call constellations. They'd been a trio once, Mason the provider, Ethan the dreamer, Levi the wild card. Late nights at the Stonewall Inn, toasting to love in a world that still sometimes spat on it. But after Ethan, Mason had walled himself off, mergers and acquisitions his only lovers. "Why here?" Mason asked finally, voice low. "You could have called. Hell, you could have stayed. I told you that." Levi's gaze lifted, locking on Mason's with an intensity that stole the air. "Because calling would have meant hearing your voice crack, and I can't. I can't fix you, Mason. But this place, it's the last piece of him that's whole. And you're drowning in it alone. I see it in your posts, your endless trips. You're running." The truth landed like rain on parched earth, soaking through Mason's defenses. He set the glass down, leaning forward, elbows on knees. "And bathing in his tub brings him back, naked, like some goddamn ritual?" Levi flushed, but didn't look away. It was stupid. Yeah. But it felt close. Like he was there, washing away the chemo stink one last time. His voice hitched, and Mason saw it then, the crack in Levi's armor, the grief that mirrored his own but sharper. Perhaps because Levi had loved Ethan not just as husband, but as brother, confidant, the one who'd pulled him out of the closet at 18 with a beer and a bear hug. Mason stood abruptly, crossing to the window, hands in pockets to hide their tremble. The city pulsed below, taxis honking, lovers strolling arm in arm under umbrellas, life mocking his stasis. "Stay," he said to his reflection, the word foreign on his tongue. "Dinner. We talk about him. Properly." Levi rose slowly, towel precarious, but his nod was firm. "Okay. But only if you change out of that wet suit. You look like a drowned banker." A ghost of a smile tugged at Mason's lips, the first in months. As Levi disappeared to dress in one of Ethan's old hoodies from the closet, Mason poured a second scotch. This was dangerous, inviting the echo of his love into the void. But in that moment, with the storm raging and Levi's laughter filtering from the bedroom, soft, tentative, it felt like the first real breath since Ethan slipped away. They ordered from that hole-in-the-wall Italian joint in Little Italy, the one where Ethan proposed a second time over tiramisu, just because, pasta carbonara steaming on the coffee table, wine breathing in crystal flutes, and for the first time, the penthouse didn't echo with emptiness. Levi talked, really talked, about the nights he'd spent at the hospital, smuggling in contraband burgers when the nurses weren't looking, holding Ethan's hand while Mason closed deals in Dubai. "You were building something for him," Levi said, twirling fettuccine on his fork, sauce flecking his chin. "A legacy. He got that. But he missed you, man. Whispered your name in his sleep, even at the end." Mason's fork clattered, appetite fleeing. "I know. God, I know. Every flight back, I promise myself more time. Then the market tanked. Or the board." He trailed off, rubbing his temple. At 42, with a net worth that could buy half of Midtown, he felt bankrupt. Levi reached across, hesitating before squeezing Mason's wrist. The touch was electric, innocent, but charged with the undercurrent of the bathroom scene. Levi's body a map Mason had glimpsed but never explored. "He didn't blame you. Neither do I." Their eyes met, and in that suspended heartbeat, Mason saw it. Not just grief, but a spark, flickering like the candle on the table. Levi pulled back, clearing his throat. "Tell me about Tokyo. Dazzle me with Whitaker International Conquests." Mason obliged, spinning tales of neon-lit negotiations and sake-fueled toasts, but his mind wandered to the man across from him. Levi, 35 now, still crashing through life like a punk rock song, bartending at a queer club in the village, sketching tattoos in his off hours, the kind that healed as much as they marked. Ethan had called him the heart of us, and tonight, with laughter bubbling up unbidden, Mason wondered if that heart could mend his own. As the clock struck midnight, plates cleared and wine bottles half empty, Levi stretched, the hoodie riding up to reveal a sliver of toned abs. "I should go. Couch is yours if you crash here instead of the hotel." Mason shook his head. "Stay. Guest rooms made up. It's late, and the subway's a zoo." Levi's grin was pure Ethan. Mischievous, melting, bossy. "Fine. But if I hear you pacing at 3 a.m., I'm dragging you for pancakes." Alone in his bedroom, Mason stripped down, the mirror reflecting a body honed by gym penance, broad shoulders, salt and pepper at the temples, eyes shadowed by loss. The bed felt less vast with Levi under the same roof, a warmth seeping through the walls. Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with bathwater and blue eyes, Ethan's voice whispering, "Let him in, Maze. Let someone in." Morning broke with the scent of coffee, strong, black, the way Levi took it. Mason found him in the kitchen, barefoot in sweats, flipping eggs at the range. Sunlight slanted through the blinds, gilding Levi's messy hair, turning him into something almost holy. "Slept like shit?" Levi asked, sliding a plate over. Mason nodded, forking into the scramble. "You, like a rock. Your bed's a cloud." A beat, then softer. "Thanks for last night. Felt normal, normal." The word was a lifeline. They ate in companionable silence, the city waking below, joggers in the park, ferries slicing the East River. But as Levi rinsed dishes, his shoulder brushing Mason's in the narrow space, normal cracked open to reveal the raw edge beneath. "I saw the bruise up close," Mason said, drying a mug. "Who was it? Levi? Really?" Levi's back stiffened, sponge pausing mid-scrub. Jake. It's done. He doesn't take no well." Mason's grip tightened on the towel. Jake, the tattooed brute Levi had dated for a year, the one Ethan had hated on sight. "You deserve better than fists." Levi turned, water dripping from his hands, eyes searching Mason's face. "Do I? After everything?" The air thickened, charged like the storm's aftermath. Mason stepped closer, close enough to feel Levi's breath hitch. "Yes. You deserve the world." Levi Harlow. For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to that space between them, grief and gratitude blurring into something warmer, riskier. Then Levi stepped back, flashing a wry smile. "Careful, Whitaker. You'll make me think you care." But as Mason watched him saunter to the guest room, towel slung over shoulder from last night's bath, he knew the truth. He did care. Too much. And in the ruins of his heart, that spark from dinner was fanning into flame. The days blurred into a tentative rhythm, Levi's presence stretching from one night to a week, then two, under the guise of helping out around the place. Mason's assistant, bless her efficient soul, rerouted calls and cleared his calendar for personal time, code for the unraveling Mason refused to name. Mornings became sacred, Levi commandeering the kitchen, blasting Springsteen from the vintage record player Ethan had salvaged from a Brooklyn flea market, his hips swaying as he whisked batter for blueberry pancakes, Ethan's guilty pleasure. "You're spoiling me," Mason grumbled one crisp Tuesday, tying his tie in the hallway mirror while Levi plated stacks dripping with maple syrup. The financier in him balked at the indulgence. The widower starved for it. Levi leaned against the counter, arms crossed, that damn hoodie zipped halfway to reveal the compass tattoo. "Good. You need spoiling. When's the last time you took a day off that wasn't spent staring at spreadsheets?" Mason paused, Windsor not halfway done. "Truth? Never." Ethan had joked about it once, during a Hamptons getaway. "Babe, if you loved numbers half as much as you love me, we'd own the Federal." The memory stung, but Levi's grin softened it, turning ache to ache with a smile. "Today," Mason decided, yanking the tie loose. "Fuck it. Show me your world, Harlow." Levi's eyes lit like the 4th of July. "My world is dives and ink and bad decisions." "You sure?" Mason grabbed his coat. "Lead the way." They hit the streets of the village, autumn leaves crunching underfoot like brittle promises. Levi's hand brushed Mason's as they dodged tourists snapping pics of Washington Square Arch, and neither pulled away. First stop, the Rusty Nail, Levi's bartending haunt. A dimly lit queer bar with fairy lights strung like stars over scarred wood counters, drag queens holding court at the far end, belting show tunes over the jukebox's Patsy Cline croon. "This is home," Levi said, sliding onto a stool as his boss, a silver-haired firecracker named Ruby, hollered from behind the bar. "Maze, meet Ruby." She birthed my questionable life choices. Ruby wiped a pint glass, eyeing Mason with the shrewdness of a hawk. "The Whitaker? Ethan's mystery man. Heard you make bank. Buy a round." Mason chuckled, the sound rusty but real. "Guinness for me." "Whatever poison Levi's on." As Ruby poured, Levi leaned in, voice low. She knew Ethan better than most. Used to sneak us in underage, back when we thought rebellion was stealing smokes from her pack. The afternoon unfolded like a jazz riff, improvised, intoxicating. Levi dragged Mason to his tattoo parlor-side gig at Ink and Soul on Bleecker, a converted brownstone buzzing with clients and the hum of needles. He sketched a quick design on scrap paper, a phoenix rising from waves, feathers laced with circuit board patterns. "For you," he said, sliding it over. "Rebirth, textile. Fits the empire builder." Mason traced the lines, pulse quickening. "How much?" Levi's laugh was pure mischief. "On the house. But you sit for it someday. No backing out." By dusk, they were windswept and starving, collapsing into a corner booth at a taqueria where Levi swore the al pastor tacos could cure souls. Tequila shots chased the spice, loosening tongues. Mason confessed the guilt that gnawed him. The deals he chased while Ethan faded, the I love yous rationed by time zones. "You think you're the villain?" Levi shot back, lime wedge squeezed between fingers, ice fierce. "Ethan worshipped you. Called you his North Star. Said you'd light up the world he couldn't." His voice softened, thumb brushing Mason's knuckles under the table. A touch that lingered, electric. "He'd want this." Laughing. Living. The word hung, heavy with implication. Mason's gaze dropped to Levi's lips, parted on an unspoken question, the bar's neon sign casting red glows across his face. The world narrowed, salsa music thumping, patrons clinking glasses, but all Mason heard was the roar in his ears, the pull toward this man who'd haunted his periphery for years. Back at the penthouse, buzzed and bold, they crashed on the sectional with a bottle of Ethan's aged bourbon, pilfered from the safe like contraband. Stories flowed. Levi recounting the time he and Ethan streaked through Central Park on a dare, Mason countering with the boardroom coup that netted his first billion, both laced with remember when that bridged past to present. "You're different here," Levi murmured, head lolling on Mason's shoulder, bourbon-warm breath ghosting his neck. "Looser. Hotter. Even." Mason's heart stuttered. He shifted, cupping Levi's jaw, thumb tracing that bruised cheekbone, faded now, but a reminder. "And your trouble. Always were." Levi's eyes darkened, pupils blown wide. "The good kind." The kiss was inevitable, slow at first, tentative, like testing storm-damaged bridges. Levi tasted of tequila and truth, his hand fisting Mason's shirt as tongues met in a clash of need. Mason groaned, pulling him closer, the couch creaking under their weight. Hands roamed, Levi's under Mason's Henley, nails scraping chest hair, Mason's tangling in damp curls, angling for deeper, hungrier. They broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed. Levi's laugh breathless. "Fuck, Maze. That was..." "Yeah." Mason's voice was gravel. He wanted more. Levi's skin under his palms, moans echoing off these walls that had once held only Ethan's. But guilt surged, a cold wave. Is this wrong? Him watching. Levi stilled, then cupped Mason's face. Fierce. Ethan wanted us happy, not ghosts. If he's watching, he's cheering. You idiot. They tumbled into bed that night. Not the master. Not yet. The guest room. Sheets twisting as bodies aligned. It was messy, emotional. Levi arching under Mason's mouth on his throat, whispering Ethan's name like a prayer before chanting Mason's like a plea. Climax shattered them, a release of months pent up, leaving sweat-slicked limbs and stuttered confessions. I needed this, Levi gasped after, head on Mason's chest, heartbeat sinking. Needed you. Mason held him tighter, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin. Me too. But Jake. He calls. Levi tensed. Blocked him. It's over. Lies have short leashes. But in the afterglow, Mason believed. Weeks melted into a honeymoon haze. Stolen lunches at Bryant Park, where Levi sketched while Mason reviewed contracts on his phone. Evenings at the Met, wandering impressionist halls hand in hidden hand. Levi's fingers tracing Monet lilies like they traced each other's spines. Mason inked the phoenix on his forearm during a lunch break. Levi's needle steady, eyes locked in silent vow. But cracks spiderwebbed. Late nights. Mason's phone buzzed with Jake's voicemails. Ignored. Deleted. But Levi's flinch at the sound betrayed ghosts. And then, the merger from hell. Whitaker International swallowing a rival firm. Whispers of sabotage from within. Mason buried in war rooms. Coming home to Levi's worried eyes. Takeout growing cold. One night, after a brutal 18-hour day, Mason found Levi on the balcony, cigarette glowing like a fallen star, city lights blurring his silhouette. You smoke? Mason asked, slipping arms around his waist from behind. Only when I stress-eat nicotine, Levi muttered, exhaling smoke toward the void. Heard about the leak. You okay? Mason nuzzled his neck, inhaling clean sweat and ink. I'll live. We all do. Apparently. Levi turned, stubbing the butt, pulling Mason into a kiss that tasted of ash and apology. Let me help. I'm good with details. Used to balance Ethan's books before he hit it big with that app. Ethan's baby, sold for millions, the seed of Mason's fortune. Nostalgia hit, but so did something sharper, trust, offered freely. Yeah, tomorrow, then. My office, 9 a.m. It started innocently. Levi poring over spreadsheets in Mason's home office. Sharp eye-catching anomalies, a transferred file here, an unauthorized access there. This smells like insider shit, he said, highlighter capping with a snap. Your CFO? Shady as hell. Mason leaned over his shoulder, pride swelling. You're a natural. Ever think finance? Levi snorted. Me? In a suit? I'd combust. But his grin was proud. And that night, celebration sex in the shower, water pounding like applause, bodies slick and urgent, sealed the partnership. Yet, as Levi delved deeper, so did the shadows. A late email from an anonymous source. Grainy photo of Levi and Jake in a heated embrace. Time-stamped 2 months post-funeral. Mason's stomach dropped, but he deleted it, chalking it up to corporate espionage. Trust, fragile as it was, held. Until it didn't. The weekend before Thanksgiving, Mason jetted to Chicago for depositions. leaving Levi with the penthouse keys and a promise. No Jake. No bullshit. Levi nodded, kissing him fierce at the elevator. Hurry back. I'll cook, the bird, the works. Family style. Family. The word lingered on the flight, warming Mason against the Midwest chill. But touchdown brought a text. Miss you already. Found something big on the leak. Call soon. Hope flickered. Then, silence. By evening, paranoia gnawed. Mason's calls went to voicemail, texts unread. He paced his hotel suite, bourbon in hand, until impulse won. Early flight home. Surprised Levi with dim sum from their spot in Chinatown. The elevator dinged at 2 a.m. Penthouse dark save a sliver of light from the office. Mason's heart raced, not fear, anticipation. But as he pushed the door open, voices drifted. Levi's, low and urgent, then a deeper timbre, Jake's, unmistakable gravel. You're playing with fire, Lev. Whitaker finds out about the files you copied. Game over. Mason froze, blood roaring. Files. The leak. Betrayal. Cold and complete. Coiled in his gut as Levi's reply sliced deeper. It was you who pushed. Said it'd hurt him like he hurt Ethan by living. The pieces shattered. Levi, not savior, but saboteur. Love, a con. Mason's world tilted, the phoenix tattoo burning like accusation. He backed away, silent as death, the door sealing his fate. Dawn crept over the skyline like a thief, painting the penthouse in bruised purples and golds. But Mason hadn't slept. Curled in the armchair by the window, a half-empty decanter his only companion, he replayed the voices until they etched into his bones. Levi's laugh, forced, complicit, mingled with Jake's sneer, a duet of deceit that drowned out the rain's patter. Files copied. Hurt like Ethan. What the hell did that even mean? Ethan, who died loving Levi like blood, who would have laughed off grudges as fool's gold. The guest room door creaked open around 7. Levi shuffling out in boxers and that cursed hoodie, hair a riot, eyes bleary with what Mason now saw as crocodile tears. Coffee pot hissed to life as Levi moved on autopilot, oblivious to the storm in the living room. Maze, you back early? I must have crashed hard. Phone died. Mason's silence was a blade, drawn slow. Levi turned, mug in hand, steam curling like the lies between them. His face crumpled, realization dawning, mug clattering to the counter as he rushed forward. Shit, you heard? Wait, it's not. Save it. Mason's voice was ice, honed by boardrooms, but laced with venom born of bedrooms. He rose, towering despite the exhaustion carving hollows under his eyes. Files. The leak. You, playing mole for your psycho ex. How long? Levi? Since the tub? Since you wormed your way in with Ethan's ghost? Levi recoiled as if slapped, color draining. No. God, no. Jake, he cornered me weeks ago, after a shift. Knew about us from spying, I guess. Said he'd out the whole thing, me, you, the age gap. The widower rebounds with dead guy's buddy, tabloid wet dream, unless I fed him scraps. I gave him nothing real. Just smoke. Mason barked a laugh. Hollow. Smoke? My stock dipped 8% yesterday. Levi. Partners jumping ship. And you in my bed, my office, my heart, all while feeding the wolf at the door. He paced, hands raking hair, the phoenix flexing like a wound. Ethan trusted you. I trusted you. Tears tracked Levi's cheeks, but he didn't wipe them, stood defiant, fists clenched. Ethan did trust me. More than anyone. That's why Jake's bullshit stings. He twisted it, said you blamed me for not catching the cancer sooner, for pushing Ethan to fight when he should have rested. But I know that's not you. You're better. Better. Mason whirled, closing the distance, chest heaving. Inches apart, he could smell Levi, soap and sorrow, the scent that had lured him under. Then why the files? Why whisper about hurting me, like I hurt Ethan? Levi's breath hitched, eyes squeezing shut. It was a fight. Jake raging, me telling him to fuck off. I recorded it, proof, in case he came at me again. Check my phone. It's all there. Mason snatched the device from the counter. Thumbing through, voicemails deleted, but the recording app open. Timestamped last night. Jake's voice snarled through tinny speakers. You think Whitaker's some saint? He drove Ethan to the grave, working him like a dog on that app. You owe me. Lev, payback time. Levi's reply, fierce, oh you shit. Touch him, and I'll bury you. The air deflated from Mason's rage, leaving weary truth. He thrust the phone back, sinking onto the stool. So it's him. Not you. Levi knelt, hands on Mason's knees, voice cracking. Not me. But I should have told you. Feared you'd think. This, he gestured between them, broken bridge. That I'd use him, Ethan, to get to you. Mason cupped his face, thumbs brushing tears, the touch tender despite the tremor. Did you? Ever? Levi's eyes, raw and ravaged, held his. No. I loved Ethan, platonic, fierce, the kind that shapes you. But you? From the funeral, when you stood there in that black suit, holding his urn like it was your soul. I saw you. Wanted to hate you for having what I couldn't fix. Then the tub, stupid, vulnerable, and you didn't throw me out. You saw me, the confession hung, a lifeline tossed into churning waters. Mason pulled him up, into his lap, arms wrapping tight as sobs racked them both. Not just for the lie averted, but for the love unearthed, fragile and fierce. I saw you too. Too late. Maybe. They clung there, kitchen clock ticking like a heartbeat, until Levi pulled back, nose bumping Mason's. Not late. Fixable. Let me prove it. Thanksgiving dawned brittle but blooming. Levi banished Mason to the park for a run. Clear your head. Suit. While he prepped, turkey brining, sides simmering, a playlist of Ethan's favorites, Springsteen into Sinatra, filling the space. Mason returned flushed, endorphins chasing shadows, to find the table set for 2 chairs, one empty for Ethan, photo propped with a single candle flickering. Ghost seat, Levi explained, basting the bird. He crashes every holiday. Deal with it. Mason's throat closed, but he nodded, lighting the wick. They ate, overstuffed, overlaughing, trading toasts, to Ethan, to second chances, to not fucking it up. Wine flowed, loosening Levi into a tipsy confession. Jake's not just an ex. He knew things. About Ethan and me. Before. Mason's fork paused midair, stuffing halfway to mouth. Before. Levi nodded, gaze on his plate. Summer after college. We hooked up drunk, experimental. One night, regretted it sober. Ethan found out, didn't judge. Said it made us closer, like scars you share. He looked up, vulnerable. Never happened again. But Jake? He was there that night. Saw it. Held it like a grenade. Grenade. The word detonated something in Mason. Not jealousy, but understanding. The messy tapestry of lives intertwined. And me? You see him in this? In us? Levi reached across, lacing fingers. No. You're steady, Maze. The rock I never knew I needed. Jake was storm. Your harbor. Post-feast haze led to the couch. Levi's head in Mason's lap. Fingers carding through hair as a rom-com flickered, ignored on screen. Stay, Mason murmured, tracing Levi's jaw. Not guest room. Not anymore. Levi's smile was sunrise. Bossy, but the idol cracked post-holiday. Jake escalated. Texts to Levi's work line. A brick through the penthouse window one frigid December eve. Traitor scrawled in red. Mason called in favors, private security. A restraining order, but the fear lingered. A third wheel in their bed. New Year's Eve brought reprieve. Times Square madness. But they opted intimate, rooftop at the Standard. Champagne flutes clinking under fireworks that bloomed like bruises healing. Levi in a velvet blazer. Mason's hand possessive on his low back. They danced to a cover band's Auld Lang Syne. Bodies swaying in sync. Resolution, Levi whispered, lips brushing ear. Mason pulled him closer, world fading. You. No more running. Midnight kiss sealed it. Tongues tangling amid cheers. Confetti raining like blessings. But as they tumbled home, buzzed and bold, Mason's phone lit. CFO arrested. Leak traced to Jake's burner IP. Digital breadcrumbs Levi had quietly fed to Mason's IT team weeks back. You sneaky bastard, Mason growled later, pinning Levi to the sheets. Gratitude rough and reverent. My hero, Levi arched, gasping. You're everything. January thawed into February. Anniversary looming like a specter. Mason planned meticulously. A weekend in the Hamptons. Ethan's ring resized for Levi's finger. Not replacement, but reclamation. But en route, snowstorms stranded them in a roadside motel off I-95, neon vacancy buzzing like fate. Cramped room, queen bed sagging. They laughed it off, takeout Chinese, bad cable porn subbing for romance. But as sleet lashed the window, Levi curled against him. Voice small, tomorrow. The bridge. You proposed there. Feels wrong. Me stepping in. Mason tilted his chin up. Ice fierce. Not stepping in. Stepping forward. With me. They made love slow. Deliberate. Candles from the diner flickering. Levi's moans a liturgy of letting go. Afterward. Tangled in scratchy sheets. Levi traced the phoenix. Burned once. Risen twice. But betrayal's echo whispered. Jake's trial loomed. Depositions dredging old wounds. That college night. Twisted into motive. Levi testified. Voice steady. It was kids being kids. No grudge. Just a ghost Jake couldn't bury. Mason watched from the gallery. Pride swelling. But doubt nipped. What if Levi's heart held shards of that past? Valentine's arrived. Bridge iced but unbroken. Mason knelt in snow-dusted slats. Ring glinting. Marry me, Levi. Not for him. For us. Tears froze on Levi's lashes. Yes. God. Yes. Rings exchanged. They fucked in the rental car. Windows fogged. Laughter echoing, joy. Pure and defiant. Spring bloomed. Merger sealed. Jake imprisoned. But conflict brewed anew. Levi's sketches caught a gallery eye, solo show in Chelsea. Tour? Europe. 6 months. Mason's gut twisted. Leave? Now. Levi cupped his face. Not leave. Grow. With you, even oceans apart. The fight erupted. Accusations flying. Mason's fear of loss a mirror to Ethan's illness. Levi's independence a flare against cages. You caged me with guilt, Levi shouted, packing a bag. I love you, but I can't be your bandage. Door slammed. Silence roared. Mason alone, ring heavy on finger, realized love wasn't possession. It was release. The penthouse transformed into a mausoleum overnight. Levi's absence a vacuum sucking color from walls, warmth from air. Mason wandered rooms like a specter, Ethan's photo on the mantel staring back with knowing eyes. You let him go? Fool. Work became oblivion. Dawn meetings, midnight closings, Whitaker International expanding into AI ethics. A nod to Ethan's dreamer heart. But success tasted ash. Board accolades rang hollow without Levi's off-key whistle in the kitchen. Texts went unanswered at first. Miss you. Come home. Then sparse, galleries killer. Paris next. Love you. Heart emojis, but distance stretched them thin. Mason flew out twice. London fog for a quick fuck in a Mayfair hotel. Levi's body familiar but guarded. Berlin's technopulse, where Levi danced wild. Mason watching from shadows. Jealousy a stranger's bite. You're pulling away, Mason accused over falafel in a Kreuzberg dive. Rain sheeting the windows like tears. Levi's fork stabbed a cucumber. No. Growing. You said forward. Remember, this is it, my phoenix. Mason reached for his hand, scarred from needle pricks. Then why the walls? Talk to me. Levi's eyes, shadowed by jet lag, softened. Jake's trial. The cross-exam. They dragged up Ethan, me, that night. Made it sound dirty, like I lured him. Fans online, trolls calling me opportunist. Gravedigger. Rage flared. Hot. Fuck them. You're not. I know. Levi squeezed back. But it digs. Makes me question if I'm enough. For you. For this life. Enough. The word echoed Mason's deepest fear. Flipped. He pulled Levi into the rain-slick alley after, kissing him fierce against graffiti walls. You're everything. Stay with me in it. Nights blurred. Levi's show a triumph. Canvases of urban queer saints. Bodies inked and unbroken. Selling to collectors who wept at the humanity. Mason stood in the crowd. Anonymous in a fedora. Pride swelling like a tide. Post-opening. Champagne-drenched loft party. Levi cornered by a silver fox curator. Hand lingering too long on his arm. Mason seethed, nursing gin in the corner, until Levi found him, flushed and furious. Jealous, protective, Mason growled, but the lie soured. Levi's laugh was sharp. Of what? A flirt? You've got empires. I've got sketches. Balance. Maze. The fight simmered homeward. First class to JFK. Words weaponized. Mason accusing clinginess. Levi firing back abandonment. You built walls before me. Ethan died alone in that bed. Mason recoiled. Slap of truth stinging. And you think running fixes it? Europe's your escape. Not art. Levi's bag hit the tarmac at customs. Done. For now. Maybe. Or maybe I'm breathing before I suffocate. Months dragged. Summer heat wave in Manhattan. Mason training for a triathlon. swim the Hudson's murk, bike Central Park loops till thighs burned, run the West Side Highway till lungs screamed. Therapy entered the fray, Park Avenue shrink named Dr. Reyes peeling layers, grief isn't linear, Mason. Levi's your mirror, reflecting what you fear losing again. He wrote letters unsent. At first, I see you, fully. Scars and stars. Then emails, calls, voicemails of vulnerability. Come back. We'll build bridges, not walls. Fall foliage turned the city to fire when Levi returned. Unannounced. Duffel at the door. Eyes wary but warm. Missed your bossy ass. Mason pulled him inside. No words. Just bodies crashing. Hall floor. Clothes shedding like skins. Levi's moans a homecoming hymn. Forgive me, Levi gasped after, tracing bruises on Mason's hips. Always, Mason kissed his temple. But talk. No more ghosts. They rebuilt deliberate. Couples counseling in a Soho brownstone. Hands clasped on worn leather couches. Unpacking Jake's grenade. How that college fling wasn't betrayal, but youth's fumbling grace. Ethan laughed it off, Levi shared. Voice steady. Said it made him love us more, flaws and all. Mason nodded, tears pricking. He was the best of us. Winter whispered warnings. Levi's wanderlust itched. Offers from Tokyo galleries tempting. 6 weeks, he promised. Packing for Japan. Then home. Mason saw him off at JFK. Kiss lingering amid harried travelers. Call. Every day. I will. Levi's grin. Dimpled and devastating. But calls faltered, time zones. Exhaustion busy with installs. Love you. Text shortened. Heart sporadic. Mason's paranoia bloomed. Fed by a private eyes report. Levi spotted with a lithe Japanese artist. Arms linked at a Shibuya bar. Betrayal's knife twisted anew. Not infidelity. The PI swore. Just collaborators, but doubt festered. Mason flew out unannounced. Echoing that fateful tub night. Heart hammering as he pushed into the ryokan room Levi shared platonically with the artist. Levi froze mid-tea pour, kimono slipping off one shoulder. Eyes wide. Maze? What? You tell me. Mason's voice shook. Rain slick from the storm outside. Arms around strangers? While I wait. The artist excused himself. Door sliding shut like a guillotine. Levi crossed the tatami, hands framing Mason's face. Riku? Colleague. Friend. Like Ethan was to me, nothing more. Hurt flashed. Bro. You think I'd, after everything? Mason sagged. Forehead to Levi's. I don't know. Fear's louder than trust lately. They talked till dawn. Tatama nests. Sake warming truths. Levi's isolation abroad. Craving Mason's anchor. Mason's abandonment scars. Ethan's death a blueprint for loss. We're human, Levi murmured, fingers lacing. Messy. But mine. Reunion sex was cathartic, slow, sacred. Levi's body arching under Mason's weight. Whispers of stay. Stay blending with cries. Morning brought clarity. Boundaries redrawn. Levi cutting the tour short. Homebound. Spring 2026 bloomed resilient. Joint therapy yielding tools, weekly check-ins. No unannounced travel packs. Levi's next show. Co-curated with Mason's tech ties. Fused art and AI, holographic tattoos pulsing on gallery walls. Queer narratives digitized for eternity. But climax brewed in shadows. Jake, paroled early on technicality, surfaced like bile. A note slipped under the door. Karma's a bitch. Boys, watch your backs. Fear coiled, but so did resolve. Mason beefed security. Levi inked a new piece on Mason's chest. Twin compasses, linked hours. June heat wave peaked with Jake's confrontation, tailing Levi from the village, cornering him in an alley behind the rusty nail. You ruined me, whore. For them. Fists flew, Jake's connecting with Levi's jaw, a crack echoing like thunder. Levi fought back, wild and wounded, until Mason, alerted by a panic button necklace, barreled in, tackling Jake to pavement. Sirens wailed, cuffs clicked. Jake hauled away, eyes venomous. He was mine first. Ask about the letters. Letters? The word lodged like shrapnel as police statements dragged. Back home, ice on Levi's swelling face. Mason pressed. What letters? Levi deflated, sinking to the tub's edge, irony bitter. Ethan's. To me, post-college. After that night. Confessing. Feelings. Deeper than friendship. He buried them when he met you, chose you. But Jake found them, used them to gaslight me. You broke his heart. Mason's world tilted, bathwater still from disuse. He loved you? Like that? Levi nodded, tears splashing. And I him. But timing wrong. We moved on. You were his right. But knowing. Twists. Like I stole his chance. Betrayal reframed, not Levi's, but fate's cruel hand. Mason knelt, water-soaking knees. You didn't steal. You gave. Him life with me. Me. Life with you now. They wept. Then washed wounds, Levi in the tub. Mason beside. Hands gentle on bruises. No more secrets, Mason vowed, kissing split lip. We're the story now. July unfurled healing. Jake reincarcerated. Therapy deepening bonds. Levi's jaw mended crooked charming. Mason's trust. Scar strong. Autumn winds swept through the canyons of Manhattan like absolution, stripping trees bare but promising renewal. Mason and Levi marked a year since the tub, anniversary of fractures mended, with a quiet vow renewal on the Brooklyn Bridge, snow flurries dancing like Ethan's spirit approving. Rings glinted, twin compasses etched inside. Forward, together. No press, no fanfare, just Ruby officiating in a faux fur coat, toasting with flasks of Irish whiskey, to loves that rise from ashes. Slaint, life settled into a humanistic harmony, flaws woven into fabric. Mason scaled back, delegating empires to mentors, carving space for board seats on queer youth nonprofits, channeling Ethan's empathy into action. Levi's art exploded. Murals in Brooklyn shelters, tattoos for trans kids free of charge. His hands healing as much as marking. Evenings, improv nights at Upright Citizens Brigade, where Levi's wild improv dragged Mason on stage. Suits traded for sillies, laughter echoing like medicine. But humanity's edge lingered, reminders that love wasn't fairy tale, but forge. Levi's wanderlust resurfaced in fall. A residency in New Orleans French Quarter, 3 months. Jazz, voodoo, beignet. Come weekends. Mason hesitated, old fears whispering. But therapy's tools held, go. I'll visit. Trust the map we drew. Levi left with a kiss in the kitchen. Duffel slung, compass tattoo peeking from sleeve. North's wherever you are. Distance tested, but calls connected, video dates over crawfish boils. Levi's face pixelated but passionate. recounting second-line parades where brass bands marched for the dead and the dreaming. Mason flew down thrice, swamp kayaks at dawn, beignottes dusted in powdered sugar at Café du Monde, nights in shotgun shacks where Levi sketched ghosts on yellowed walls. One visit, post-Mardi Gras haze, Levi unveiled a canvas. Mason and Ethan entwined, not rivals but roots, branches for Levi, blooming queer and unashamed. Our Trinity, he said, brush still wet. No betrayal. Just branches. Tears stung. Mason pulled him close, paint-smearing shirts. Perfect. Like us. Spring 2027 brought bloom. Levi home. Belly laugh fuller. Sketches bursting with Bayou soul. They adopted. A scrappy rescue mutt named Hudson. Tail-wagging chaos that chewed loafers but licked away blues. Weekends in the Hamptons now joint. Bonfires on dune beaches. Levi strumming guitar to folk tunes. Mason's head in lap. Stars wheeling overhead. Conflict crested subtle. A donor gala for the non-profit. Where a silver-haired venture capitalist cornered Mason. Heard about your artist. Talented, but volatile. Sure he's not another heartbreak waiting. Words landed like embers, fanning doubt. Mason confronted Levi over cooling paella. People talk. About us. The age. The past. Ethan. Jake. Levi's fork dropped. Eyes flashing. And you listen? After all. Not listen. Fear. Mason admitted. Vulnerable. That were two patched scars showing. Levi stood, rounding the table, pulling Mason up into a slow dance to phantom music. Scars are stories. Ours match. That's the beauty. Climax came unbidden. A car wreck on the FDR. Mason hydroplaning in a downpour. Hudson's carrier tumbling. No major breaks, just ribs cracked. Concussion fog. But hospital lights revived ghosts. Ethan's bed. Monitors beeping dirge. Levi arrived wild-eyed. Shoving past nurses. Don't you dare leave me. Whitaker. Mason, groggy on morphine, gripped his hand. Won't. Promise. Recovery was raw. Levi playing nurse. Spooning soup with gruff tenderness. Hudson curled at bedfoot like sentinel. Nights, when pain woke Mason sweating, Levi held him. Whispers of you're safe. We're safe, turning terror to tether. Summer healed. Physical therapy in Central Park. Levi spotting bench presses with trash talk. Push, old man. Can't have you slacking on me. Laughter rebuilt strength. Love, the bones beneath. By fall, the wreck recast as catalyst. Mason retiring early from the C-suite, co-founding an art tech incubator with Levi. Queer creators coding futures, blending ink and algorithms. Their first event, a warehouse bash in Bushwick, holograms dancing with drag performers, Ethan's photo projected as guardian angel. One night, post-launch high, rooftop under harvest moon, Levi pulled an envelope from his jacket, yellowed, addressed in Ethan's looping script, for when you find your harbor. Mason's hands shook opening it. Maze, if you're reading this, I'm gone. But Levi's there. He was my what if, you're my always. Love him for me. Make it messy. Make it real. Yours, E. Tears fell. Shared. Levi's arm around shoulders. He knew. He did. Mason kissed him. Salt and moonlight. And he was right. Years folded. Grays threading Levi's curls. Laugh lines etching Mason's eyes. Hudson gray-muzzled. They fostered kids. Queer teens adrift. Teaching resilience over pancakes. Betrayals faded to footnotes. Conflicts to compost for growth. On their 10th bridge anniversary, snow softer, rings worn thin, Mason knelt again, not proposal, but gratitude. Thank you. For the tub, the tears, the everything. Levi hauled him up, kissing fierce. Thank you. For seeing me. For home. They walked arm in arm into the city. Skyline aglow, dramatic, emotional, romantic tapestry woven human. Flawed, fierce, forever. In the end, love wasn't conquest or cure. It was showing up, unannounced, unafraid, and staying through the steam.